welcome to another episode of Financial Freeway. My name is David J. Atwood. I'm the man rocking the Ray-Bans. And wow, it's been a great day today. It was great. I hit the gym. I got some work done on my book that I've decided to get back into. Once the stress of trying to get this convention together has slowly started to dissipate, as I become more and more confident of the of our ability to make sure this comes off without losing too much money, I feel the stress leave me, and it feels really good. And I find that I'm able to start focusing on other things. Like I've been focusing on projects around the house. Gabby's known a difference in that as well, like a real difference in my demeanor and my willingness to tackle these projects. So it's good all around. I just think it's one of those things where you have stress in your life because of whatever reason. And it's funny, I talk about this in my book, Conversations with Keegan, available on Amazon. Link is in the description. And I talk about how stress is not the worst thing in the world. It's not bad to be stressed once in a while. Like if you're in combat or you're being chased by a predator, that initial stress is there to serve you, but long-term stress has really, really bad effects on your physiology. And one of the things I noticed is when I'm stressed out, I actually put on weight. When I'm stressed out for a long period of time. And I have been stressed out and I have put on weight. And it's kind of it's upsetting because while we're stressed out, there are certain things we do to calm ourselves. One of them is eat. Eating your feelings is a real thing, because the tryptophan that's released in your body as you're converting carbohydrates to long-term storage, that tryptophan is basically it's a feel-good drug, if you will, or chemical, or hormone, or whatever. I think it's a chemical, but it's a feel-good, and it feels good. And it helps calm you down, and I think my theory is that it meant that you were going to be able to survive the next couple of weeks or whatever, because you have those reserves and that slow digesting food in your system, whereas protein goes through pretty quick, fats go through pretty quick, but carbohydrates stick around, and you can start to you can slowly digest that meal. And I think that's why we do that. And the second is there's a real issue with the cortisol released with stress, and your cortisol levels because of the stress. So you pack on the weight for that reason too. But another thing too is you might drink, you might smoke some weed, you might do something to hit the pause button on the stress. And that thing that you do, for me, I like my whiskey. The problem is what whiskey does is it slows down the metabolism of carbohydrates and fat, long-term stores of fat. So it's a real issue to deal with when you're dealing with that's the kind of thing that happens with stress. But as the stress is dissipating, I find myself being more active, doing things other than just ruminating about the convention and all the things that could potentially go wrong. I'm back at the gym. I'm, we're going out with Gabby, going for walks, stuff. So it is getting better, and that's part of the thing I'm starting to notice with myself. Very high stress situation, and I was stressed for months. Another thing, one of the things I stopped doing was doing these videos. It was because of it. So there's nothing we can do. We live in a world where we're told that that's part of life. You have to be in stressful situations. I think the important thing is to really manage your coping mechanisms, like manage the alcohol, manage the food, the sugary, the high carb intake, manage how you cope with your stress levels, that can have a serious consequence to your long-term health and all that stuff. So yeah, keep it in check. But what I thought I would do today is I would talk about a plan. A lot of people have been saying to me, how do you get rich? What do you do? And I have a plan. It's simple. And as I've said before, it's a simple plan. Simple does not mean easy. Simple means that a monkey can do it It's just not easy. And it's very simple. And it really helps if you're in a situation like if you're living at home with your parents, or have a spouse that can support you, or whatever the case may be. But the first thing you want to do is you want to start saving. So you want to start working towards saving and getting some money put away. There you go. Thank you very much. And it's a key indicator thing. You gotta save. So make sure you get into a situation where you can save, where you can put some money away. And so get in some situation where you can do that. And that's the only way you can do that, is by living beneath your means. So if you're living at home with your parents, great. Talk to them, work with them. Most parents are reasonable enough that if you said, will you support me for the next couple of years while I save money for a down payment on a house? Most parents will say yes. If you're in a situation where you can't be supported, for whatever reason, right? Like you're living on your own night right now, or maybe you don't have parents, or whatever the case is, get a second job, get a night job, and put all that money into a savings account. And I prefer to use self-directed, but if you don't know what to do, just put it into an ETF or an index fund. There's another, I think I did a podcast, one of the earlier podcasts, where I talk about what an ETF is, an exchange traded fund or an index fund. So make sure you put your money into something that's going to grow. You want to use a vehicle like a tax shelter. The government of Canada put this up back in, I believe, the 80s or the 70s. Might have been the 70s. I think it was the 80s. But it's put there, and it's a legal thing for you to put money away, so you can put it away and save it, and it can grow, and you can get interest, and it can grow tax-free. And also, the money, when you put it in there, you get a little bit of a tax rebate. So the money that you're putting in there is actually not taxed. So it's a win in that way, plus it grows. So you want to do is you want to spend 2 years dumping as much money as you possibly can. And what I tell people all the time, that means no beer, no weed, no pizza, no DoorDash, no skip the dishes, no Coachella, no vacations for 2 years. And I tell this to people all the time. I just say no partying, no spending money on anything but dumping all your money into an RSP. 18%, as I understand it right now, I may be wrong, but don't quote me on this, but basically, say 20%. 20% of your money, just to keep the math simple, it's actually 18%, but 20% of your money goes into an RSP. The max you're allowed to put into an RSP is 20%. Dump all you can into your RSP. It is the best vehicle to put money away if you're saving for a house. Again, don't quote me on this, and make sure you talk to a professional. But what I tell people is put the money into an RSP as much as you can. You got to get that 10% down, or your 20% down for that first house. You got to get it. So spend 2 years of your life just focused on saving and investing and growing that cash. 20% into an RSP, the rest put into a tax-free savings account. So you can't get the tax benefits of putting it into a TSFA, but you can get the tax benefits of pulling it out. Because you pull money out of a TSFA, there's no penalties, there's no charge, nothing. So definitely do that. 20% into an RSP, the rest, 80% into a tax-free savings account, which you will pay taxes on, but that's okay. So you do that, you bang out, you work as much as you can. And I say 7 days a week because it's possible, but even if you only worked 5 days a week, you could put enough money away in 2 years to have a down payment on some real estate. Now here's the second phase. When it comes time to buy your real estate, don't shop where you want to live where you can afford. This is the biggest mistake a lot of Canadians are doing right now. Everyone wants to have beachfront property in Vancouver West, or West Vancouver. And they're all mad because their 2,000 square foot house costs $2 million. So I say, well, then maybe you need to go live in Chilliwack instead of West Van. Maybe you got to live a little bit smartly. This you don't have to do forever. You go and you live somewhere where you can afford the mortgage. If you're doing a job like DoorDash or you have something that's mobile and you can move to a smaller city. There's going to be issues with getting work and making money. I understand because thank you. Because it's going to be harder in smaller cities to make money if you want to work on some industry, but you can do it. It is possible. So you might have to move for a couple of years into a place where you don't want to live. Maybe it won't be your first choice, but if you're making $20 an hour, you shouldn't be living in the most expensive real estate in the world. You shouldn't be living in Victoria or Vancouver if all you're making is 40 grand a year, because you just can't afford to do it unless you have like a million roommates. But if you're buying real estate, you got to buy where you can afford. What I'm telling people is real estate is a great investment. There's a lot of people that are talking about other investments, and yes, there is other investments, but real estate has worked for me. And I think if people would actually put the work into getting some real estate, you can lose. You can always lose. And I do know someone that lost on real estate. They made some bad mistakes, and when I stepped in, to try and help and give some advice, it was hilarious how they shot me down. And by the way, they lost a ton of dough on their real estate. But here's what you do. Here's the basic thing. You get into a place. You take the money that you've saved, you put it down on the down payment, and you make your mortgage payments. You make it work. You do what you have to make it work. And then, this is the greatest thing, is that you live in there for 5 years until your first contract with the bank is up. So in 5 years, the real estate traditionally, historically, has gone up 10% a year. It's like 8%, but I'm trying to keep the math simple. So if you buy a place for $500,000, it goes up 10% a year. In 5 years, your $500,000 house is now going to be worth $750,000. That's a big deal. That little bit of room there, that little cushion, that beautiful thing is called equity, and that's juicy. That's yours. You earned it. So then what you do is you go to the bank, you refinance. How did she get ahead of me? My God, she's good. You refinance your house. You take an equity mortgage out on it, and then you buy another place. It's really that simple. Now you've got two places. You live in one, you rent one. It's a win. It's a solid win all around. So if you kept doing that for 15 years, 20 years, by the time you're in your 40s, you will have 4 real estate holdings with a possible up to 7 different rental units. And you would be living in a world where the air is a little bit different, because you wouldn't be paying a mortgage. Your housing costs would be covered. So all you'd have to come up with money for is it's your living expenses, your gas, your food, things like that. So it's a really simple plan. It's not easy, but it can be done. You just have to think a little bit creatively. Think about, if you want to buy a place in Canada, think about where you can afford to buy, and kind of figure out a nice medium ground of what city you want to live in, what's the cheapest city, what city has the best kind of industry to work in your trade, whatever that trade is. But once you start getting that revenue coming in from the real estate holdings, it's going to feel a lot different, and that's where you're really going to start making a difference. There are other ways to do it. I know it's the way I did it. I know real estate. That's why I preach it so much. I love real estate. Real estate's been really good to me over the last 24 years. So I say to people, just do that. Whatever you can do, get into real estate. So basically, to wrap it up, I would say the path, a very simple plan, is work your ass off, save, invest. Do that while you're saving, investing and driving, and just keep putting as much as you can into those index funds, into the stock market, into your TSFA and your RSP. When the time comes, take all the money out of your TSFA, borrow the money out of your RSP, which you're allowed to. There's a limit, but you're allowed to do it when you buy a house in Canada. And now there's even a thing called the first-time homeowners savings account or something. I don't know the actual acronym, but I haven't really done a lot of research on it because I didn't go that route. But if that's available to you, take it. Whatever the government's doing to help you out, take it. Take what you can, get in a place, suite it out right away, put a basement suite in, rent that basement suite out, or live in the basement suite, even better, rent the upstairs out for almost the full price of the house, and then you live in rent free. Then in 5 years, flip it, do it again. Not flip it, sorry, take a loan out on the equity and do it again, and keep doing that. And like I say, you do that for 20 years and you're set for life. Your kids will be set for life. It'll be a good life. Anyways, folks, just wanted to get that out there. I haven't talked about finance in a real long time. Been talking a lot of more about some theory, something a little more practical today. But thank you so much for watching. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Come on, people, subscribe. I need more subscribers. And if you haven't, you really should check out financialfreeway23.ca. That's our website. That's where all the juicy stuff is. Go back and look at the older stuff, because that's where I got some good plans there, some good ideas, and I even have some links to some spreadsheets that you're more than welcome to take a look at and see what you can do with. And finally, the last thing I always like to say, it's our mission here at Financial Freeway to make sure that everyone understands that they have an inalienable right to live a life of happiness and abundance. Wherever you are in this beautiful fall afternoon, God bless.